Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Do you have a pile of strips and bits that look like this? Well, then it's time for us to get our strip routine on. And if your husband just walked by with a cup of coffee, he heard that and he probably spilled some coffee. But we're going to get our strips all organized and get our routine together and have a fun little video. So in order to get my strips in order, I have so many different kinds. I have coffee stain strips. I have leftovers from scrapbook paper. I have pieces that have been cut off of the ends of things. And I've come to the conclusion that the reason we have so many strips is because we measure stuff. And whenever we measure stuff, we're always cutting something off. But there is a use for all these bits and pieces. I use them for a combination of making tickets, making labels, faux washi, as they call it, and then just edge trimming. I use it for making ruffles. I use it for making the backings of making ruffles. So there is a lot of use for all these strips, and I will go into more detail with that shortly. But I realized I needed something that was at least 12 inches long to manage the bigger pieces. And, you know, I was racking my brains. Do I make a tray? Do I make little boxes for them? But I want them all to be together and yet organized. So I just happened to be at the local dollar store. And I found, well, I didn't find, I was picking these up. These zipper seal bags. This is the largest size that they have, and I think you get 6 in a package, and it's $1.50 for the package of them. Now, going into those things, this is the bag, and I use these bags as project bags in my art creation. So for example, if I want to make a journal with a certain theme, like maybe Christmas or Easter or a steampunk journal, I will put all the papers that are related in here. I will start putting everything together as I find things, and it's all contained in this one bag. And what's nice about this bag is that it's a little bit wider than 12 inches. I think it's like 12 and a half. And it's perfect to hold 12 by 12 paper if that's some of the paper that you're going to use. But because it's so big, you can add other things like book pages and parts that maybe you start putting together ahead of time, like doing your pockets and journal cards and tags and stuff. And it can all be nicely contained in one envelope. And so because I was picking these up because I needed more for some projects, I realized quite quickly that this is larger than 12 inches. It's about 14 inches long and would make the perfect box to hold strips. But I need many of them because I want to be able to sort my strips. So today I'm going to show you how I build these boxes into nice strip boxes, and we will organize all of our strips. So to give you an example, first of all, I opened it up, and there are some ratty looking edges here. Nothing that can't be handled or fixed too easily. And so now I wanted the box to be open. And this box has 2 narrow sides and 2 wide sides. And I had to be careful because there is a perforated edge that's on the box that you would normally open it up and make like sort of like a tissue box where you can pull the bags out. So I had to be careful not to separate that because it's pretty easy to separate. And then I decided I wanted my box to be open. I don't want to have a closed box because I want to be able to quickly add things. I want to be able to quickly see things. So I didn't need one of the long sides, and I decided I wanted the long side to be the bottom and the short sides to be the sides. This allows me to stay in control of the amount of strips that I keep, because if this box is overflowing, I don't need that many. So having a shallower box with the wider bottom allows me to put different widths of strips in here. And the width of this box along the bottom is 2.5 inches. Now, if you have strips that are 2.5 inches wide, because it would be really tight to put a 2.5 inch strip in here. But if you have strips that are 2.5 inches wide, they're not strips anymore. They're tags, matchbooks, journal cards. They're onto something else. So your strips should stay under the 2 and maybe 2.25 inches at best. I wouldn't put anything bigger on here and still call it a strip. It's got to move on to something else. So keeping that in mind, I wanted the box to only be that wide, and I knew I wanted several of them, so I bought several boxes like this, and I'm cutting off the good side. And when I say the good side, it's because it doesn't have a perforation in it. It's just a nice straight flat piece. So I'm just going to take my scissors and trim that away. Hope you can see what I'm doing here. Wasn't even paying attention. So this piece now can become tag bases, journal card bases, pocket bases, more strips. But I'm going to leave it as a whole piece like this. This is also great to die cut into different shapes. It goes through my Sizzix machine quite easily. I'll trim off the little patchy pieces afterwards, but I'm going to put that aside and reuse it for something else. So that left me this long box now that I can put together to form a lovely strip box. So my strips will all fit in here. And even the longer, of course, just because I want a 12-inch one, I won't find a 12-inch one, right? But all the longer strips will fit in here as well. So if you've watched my box videos, you have a general idea of how to build the box. And I like to build the box and then cover it with book pages because I like my storage stuff and my art room to look nice. I don't like junky looking things in it. So I'm just taking the flaps here. I'm going to clean that little piece there that's on there off. And taking my glue. But if you've watched my window box tutorial, then you'll have a pretty good idea of how I build and reinforce the box. But I will do a little bit of a tutorial on this video. Now this video is not going to be very long because I'm not going to waste your time showing you how I build the entire collection. But I've just glued that in place now. And in my building window boxes tutorial, I make a lot of these strips that I score down the middle. They're about 1 inch wide, and they're pre-scored because I sit and do a whole pile of them. I do the whole length of a file folder. And I'm going to reinforce these corners using approximately the length of the box. And putting a little bit of glue on the inside of these reinforcements. Now this is just made from file folder, but you can also make them out of cardstock. You can make them out of 1 inch wide cardstock strips. And I just use it to reinforce that corner. This way, you know it's going to be put together well. And this just reinforces that those other little flaps aren't going to come undone so easily if you've got the corners done. And then I start to cover them with book pages. So I'm just going to get some of my tools ready for that. Oh, that wasn't supposed to be there. My desk is so messy right now, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. I can't even show you. I'd be embarrassed to show you. But I have so many things on the go lately. And with this Thrifty Thursday, I am getting so far behind in all of my projects. So I have some strips here, and the first thing I like to do is I like to do both corners. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to work on the one corner right now. And I cover them first, and then I proceed to go through the whole box, covering it on the outside and wrapping it all the way around on the inside. Now, the reason I do this is, like I said, I like things to look nice in my studio. I don't like cardboard boxes. I don't like plasticky stuff everywhere. I like things to look organic in a sense. I want them to look artsy. And I want to show my friends and my family and my YouTube people that I take my art seriously. And so many times I have people say to me, both on YouTube, in real life, and from the videos that I've watched, that their friends and family don't take them serious when they're making journals and doing their different art creations and stuff. But it's because they don't take it seriously. And I say this because if your room is inspiring and is organized and is a little bit artsy, it's a place to come and be creative. But if you've got things piled on top of each other, although I don't want you to see this table. But if you've got things piled on top of each other, teetering, and if you've got cardboard boxes that aren't finished, and you've got things stuffed in plastic bags, and the bag is half open and half closed, then who's going to take you seriously? And how are you going to feel good about what you're doing if everything is just in disarray and in a mess? And, some people like to work like that. I like to work like that on my desk. I like everything handy, but I also like to put it all away at the end when I'm finished. And so to have people take you more seriously is to take yourself more seriously, right? And to do things that make people realize that, oh, wow, this was a cardboard box, and now it's a holder for some of her art creations or art pieces. And then it makes you feel good about yourself and makes other people realize, again, that you are serious about what you do and that you enjoy what you do. So yeah, that's just a little tip for you to take the simplest of, this little box it's just a cardboard box. It's got a couple rips in it, and it's got some scruffy looking sides here, but by the time I'm finished, it's going to look beautiful, and it's going to be filled with wonderful things that I can use in my art. So enough said about that. So I have done the box corners here by wrapping from the inside and gluing all the way around using a strip. And same with here on the inside, going all the way around. And now there is still a little bit showing on the corners here. And I'm just going to take some more paper, because I always have strips handy. Some strips I purposely make for doing this. If you watch my video where I showed you how I took apart a book to make ephemera, one of the things I do is I make strips to use for covering different projects. Now, as some of you know, I recently went back to Manitoba, where I used to live, and I surprised some of my gal pals by coming to the first scrapbook event that they've had in 2 years, because I used to go all the time. And so as soon as I knew the date of the event, I booked a flight. and decided to surprise them. I told no one about it. And I had the greatest of times there. I really had a fun time. We laughed, we cried, we laughed some more. And one of the things that was so funny was that one of my gal pals was making a cardboard box and covering it with book pages, just like I've been showing doing the window boxes on in my tutorial. And I was talking with somebody else about halfway across the room. Now I'm just going to finish that one little bit here on the corner. And I noticed that her and another girl were throwing a box back and forth at each other. And when I realized what they were doing, they were making fun of me, because in my video for doing the window boxes, I take a box when it's done and I show you how strong it is and how well made it is, because I flip it around and I'm not afraid to throw it across the room. So yeah, Val, my boxes are strong enough that you can throw them across the room. And it was all in fun, but it was hilarious to figure out what it was they were doing. So yeah, watch the window box tutorial and you will see how strong these boxes are by the time you're finished. So as I mentioned, I like to cover both ends of the box first. That's the hardest part. And once you do that, the rest is easy. But for the sake of this video, I'm not going to go that far into it. I'm just going to start doing the sides of the box. Now I'm going to be putting lots of paper inside these boxes, so I don't feel the need to do the bottom in this case, but you could do the bottom in even just some neutral scrapbook paper if you have. So here I've gone into the box right to the bottom, and I'm going to slowly just ease it around the side and glue it down to the side. And I use a combination of different papers. I don't measure, because measures means you'll have leftover bits, and leftover bits become more strips to go in these boxes. We don't need any more strips. But I use different kinds of paper, and I don't care which direction they're going in. Eventually, these will get covered with some napkins, and they will get sealed with a water-based sealer afterwards. Just use whatever one you have available. So they will get more and more sturdy as we go along. Or as I go along. What I like to do is when I have when I'm working with a napkin and I have the little bits that are left over, that's when I go back and add things onto these boxes to pretty them up a little bit. Now I'm still getting caught up making boxes, because when we moved, I destroyed or recycled a lot of the boxes I had made, only because it was just too much to bring all of that stuff with me when we moved. So I am still in the process of getting all my ephemera boxes made up. I probably, if you've seen my ephemera box tutorial, I probably need about 6 in total altogether, with the different little small boxes inside. So I've been slowly collecting the little boxes to go inside them as well. And when I have a few minutes here and there, I try to cover a box with book pages. Okay, so I'm only going to go part ways there. So once the box is covered all around the sides on the inside, then I proceed to do the outside and the bottoms. So I will just take the same paper and continue to glue around the outside of the box, just sneaking up on one corner or edge at a time. I don't like to do double, because then the paper buckles a little bit. So just doing one corner at a time. and then I will keep going, and then the same with on this side. Wherever there's a little piece like this that is torn, I will take a couple pieces of paper and do a little patch first. Now this box I really kind of tore up the edge a bit, so I'll do a little patch on the inside first, and then the same patch on the outside. And this just reinforces where it's been torn. And then I still proceed to cover on it the same way that I did on this side. So then, once you've got your box made and completed, you can start to build a tray. So, ta-da! Now this box will also get covered, but I will save that for off camera another day. I did show you my studio in January, and my plan is to show you the revised studio again sometime in July. I will do another walk through my studio. But here's one of the boxes that I've covered. And then this one is a shorter one that I made to go this way. And how I did that is I just cut the box to the length I wanted. In this case, I would just trim this down here. I'm going to do it because I'm going to probably make a second batch of these boxes anyway. And then I made myself a little piece to go across and reinforced it with the little reinforced corners, and then it sits inside my tray. So here is the finished one. And then I have one here with a few more strips, or a few little strips in it. And then I have another one here. And I have one more. And this one, I've already started to put some fabric strips in it because I couldn't wait. I was trying it out. So these are fabric strips that I've made, and underneath I use a piece of card strip or paper strip to reinforce while I was making my fabric pieces. So that's what all of these are, is just fabric strips. And the reason I put them onto paper like this is if I want a little bit that I want to add onto a book page, I just cut it however I want, and I can glue it down without having to take out the sewing machine and sew it to the page. So I just glue along the paper, glue along the stitching, and reinforce and stick it into my book. So I'm keeping a section for some strips that I had pre-made. I think eventually I will have one whole tray of just fabric strips because I do use a lot of them. But yeah, if you give me 5 seconds, I'm going to fill this box and then explain how I did my sorting. All of these papers here are going to get into this box. So just give me a second. I'll be right back. Ta-da! And there are all my strips sorted out. And just for the record, when you saw that huge pile at the start of the video, they had all been sorted out into these containers, but I took them all apart and mixed them up just to show you. So it took me about 15 minutes to put this back together. So how I organize my strips. Well, this first box here holds all the long neutral strips. So they can be file folder pieces that I have left over. They can be just strips of coffee stained paper. Anything that's neutral. And the neutral ones I use to ink stamp on or to create bases for making my fabric strips that I want to use on paper. Now, I don't always stitch my fabric to paper. I only do these if I have a piece of fabric lying around that's in my way, or, you know, I finished a project and it's a leftover bit. Then I will stitch it down to paper or make it into a fabric ruffle. but then it's ready to go. And the reason I like to stitch them onto paper again is because then I can snip them and I can glue them down with glue without having to take my sewing machine out to fix them or to stitch them to the page. So it turns out I don't have enough room to have my fabric ones in here, and I do plan to have a second box for putting all my fabric strips and for maybe more strips, because I like a little bit more organization than this. Now, these boxes normally wouldn't be this full. They're only full like this because I've gotten a little far behind in my work. These videos are taking up a lot of my time. But so is my thrifting and the other running around that I've been doing. So I will get caught up again and get these boxes into a more manageable state. But I wouldn't mind having a second tray or maybe boxes that I can put on top of each other in the same box. I haven't decided. Maybe I'll have a double level or something. So that's to come yet, as soon as I have a chance to figure that out. So when I say ink stamping, I have one container just for doing ink or keeping ink stamped papers. So these are all coffee dyed or file folders on the back side. And I use this as a means to clean off my stamps, or if I'm having a day where I've lost my mojo, I will just come downstairs here and get out a few stamps and start playing with the inks to make some different strips. And these pieces are great to use in clusters or to use as belly bands. So I do find uses for this all the time, and sometimes I just tear off a piece and glue it down as a little spot of interest on a page, or I make them into faux stamps or all kinds of things. So it's just a method of taking the papers from either this tray or my short ones here and inking them and getting them into this tray. So they get used up now as ink stamped pieces. So I hope you can see all the different ones that I've got in here. And these are some grungy bits that came off of book spines that I've been keeping, and I plan to do a collage sheet with these on it, and then I'm going to scan the collage sheet so I can cut it up into more strips, I guess, or make more paper. So this box here is my colored pieces. Now these are all leftover pieces from doing different projects, and I wouldn't normally keep the really short ones in here. I would use them again for something else, but just for the sake of this video, I put everything in here, so it is starting to look a little bit full. But I use this as the alternative to using washi tape. I'm not fond of washi tape. I probably have about 15 rolls, and I just as soon give it away here and there, or I still glue on it, or I put double-sided tape on top of the sticky tape because it never sticks for me, and I'm never happy with it. And yes, I've bought expensive washi tape and I've bought cheap washi tape, and sometimes the cheap washi tape works better than the expensive stuff, but there's no rhyme or reason. I've tried the microwave, sticking it in the microwave to get it sticky again. I've just had projects sitting on the counter or in my ephemera box, and I come back to them a month later and the tape is starting to roll up on itself, and I just get so frustrated with it that I've decided I don't need to use it. This is washi tape to me. This is that faux tape, and it works just fine. I can glue it down, or I can put sticker on the back of it, and I've got a huge collection of colors and designs, and I can create my own anytime I want. So that is my alternative to washi tape, is Foshi tape. So that's those three, and these are just shorter colored strips, and these are my longer colored strips. Again, this is where you want something, maybe you're doing this down the side of a page, maybe you want to add some color or spot focal point to a belly band, maybe that's made out of book pages. And if you noticed, I don't keep my book pages in here because I use them daily. I have a separate filing system for those. And so this is just for random large strips. So the smaller ones here, again, I might ink stamp on these. They are coffee stained. There's some cardboard ones in here as well. Sometimes I will just take a strip. Let's just take a little one for the sake of it. So I'll just take a smaller strip. This has got a kind of a funky edge there. And just cut off the nubs. And I have an instant label. And it's just waiting for me. I can actually take a piece of, let's take a piece of this ink stamped paper in something narrow. Of course, just because I want to show you. There we go. So a little bit of an ink stamped piece on top, glued on top, and you've got an instant little focal point label that you can put on a project. And you can do that with colored paper. You can do the colored paper and have a two-tiered one where there's something very neutral that you can write on. Just trying to find a strip that's the right width, but this might not be bad either. So you can take a strip like that. And just, again, cut off the little nubs. And glue this down, and you have an instant double layer label ready to go. So these are just easy little things that you can do with these pieces. Now where to put it? I'll just stick it there. Another thing that I like to do with these is turn them into tickets, and you've seen me do that. I just take a piece, fold it in half. Doesn't matter what length and how many times you fold it, but I'm going to just, for the sake of this video, I think I'll fold it into 6 pieces, only because of the size I have in my hand, and hope that I made it approximately the right size. Yeah, I did, not too bad. So a concertina fold, or accordion fold, however you want to say it, into whatever size you want to make it. Now I've got a little bit of a little end there on the, I'm just going to cut that off. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you've seen me do this before. And then I just take a regular hole puncher and I just take a little tiny bite. Oh, I don't think I can do it with 6. Okay, we'll do it with 3 or 2. Let's just see. There we go. Little bite. Little bite. Do the same thing on there. Do you see where we're going with this? Boy, I don't have the right hole puncher here. This one was in a box of stuff that I unpacked. Sorry for the pause here. And I just keep going, doing the little corners. This thing doesn't work very good. Anyway, you'll get the point. And once you unfold it, you have a set of tickets. But I need to get a different hole puncher than this one. I'm too lazy to go get it. So you know exactly what I mean. And if not, watch my video on cutting up file folders, and you'll get more information on how to make your tickets. So, and then these can also be ink stamped, and you can cut them into different lengths. You don't have to have 6 tickets. You can have 3 tickets. So there's lots of options for making tickets right out of this very same pile of strips. That's only a few different ideas that I can give you. But yeah, there's lots of options of how to use up your strips, and there's lots of options of how to file your strips. Now, in that pile, these were the pieces that didn't quite make the cut because they were either too wide, or I found that I could use these for other purposes. Like, this is not something I would use as a strip. These are pieces that I would probably use in notepads or for doing pockets and that type of thing. So I would file this a little bit differently. And these are just small little bits. I have another filing system for small little bits like this, which is why this will get thinned out a little bit, because there are a lot of small bits in there. And this is for doing my clusters that I use that. And again, this is getting to the point where it's too wide. It barely fits in the box. It's not a strip. This instantly becomes a matchbook cover by just folding it. And then you can put your note paper inside or whatever you want inside, and then just staple it to hold it in place. And so it's not a strip. It's a matchbook cover. It's a tag. It's a little mini booklet. It's an envelope. It's not a strip. So once you get where you're organizing your bits and pieces, you will know that there's other options for doing with pieces like this. And there are 1,000 videos that you can watch on what to do with 3-inch pieces, 4-inch pieces, half a quarter, like a 6x6 scrapbook paper, and 12x12. So there's lots of videos of things that you can make with these bits. So they don't belong in this box. So another one that doesn't belong in this box for me is all of these white strips. I do have a bucket for white pieces. These are the pieces that I cut off of the ends of collage sheets or digital sheets that I use for in my book. Sometimes you get a page of ephemera like envelopes or tickets and tags and things. I cut off all the outside strips and I keep them to coffee dye, and then they come back and end up in this box. But they go into a coffee dye bucket that I have in my paint section. And when the box is full, like sometimes I throw lace in there, I throw bits of white fabric in there, or odds and ends. And so then this goes into that pile. And when the box is full, I do a whole coffee staining at one time. But that's for another day and another project. So that's it for this video. I want to talk about some upcoming videos. And one is that on next Sunday's tutorial, I'm going to be using these two books and showing you how I dissect them and how I turn these beautiful pages into other things. So that, because a lot of people say, well, those are photo papers. You know, they don't seem to like the photo papers to use in their art, or they, you know, they don't think that they would use them. I'm just going to show you some different ideas of things that I do with this. So I'll be just dissecting this book. And after showing this book, I've had quite a few people message me that they too have found this book. So it is out there. I wasn't kidding when I said, you know, this is the time, like it's been 25 years since this book was published. So this is the time when moms and grandmas are reducing their stuff that they have. And so these things are going to the thrift shops and showing up in the thrift shops and in garage sales. So I'm going to show what I can do with these tags. Although there are 200 of them, I don't plan to show you with all 200, but we will take this book apart as well and use some of these pretty images that are in this book. So that's coming up for next Sunday. We'll be dissecting these two books and using them. Tomorrow is a collaboration that I'm going to do with a few other people. I can give you more information tomorrow if you watch the YouTube video tomorrow. And the collaboration is Mask Making Monday. It's not something I've normally done ever, even in my own personal methods. But I do mask making. I just don't give myself a time period to do it. But I will be working on some envelopes tomorrow and showing you some different techniques with my envelopes. And maybe we'll even use some of these little strips in the envelope making. So it's going to be a mask thing. I'm only going to do 30 minutes, so it'll be a very quick video. Later on in the week, I think on Wednesday, some of the gals in our collaboration group, they want to do a, now I think it's, I don't know what it's called off the top of my head. It's not coming to me, but it's where you show a pile of stuff and then you have to be accountable for that pile of stuff. And in sorting out my things in the last couple of weeks, I came across a big pile of paper, and I will go through that with you on Wednesday so you see what's in the pile. And then on Fridays, we're supposed to show our progress. So that ought to be interesting. But yeah, that's coming up for Friday. On Thursday, I will have Thrifty Thursday. What's going on? I've got a video almost every day. Tuesday, I'm away because I'm going thrifting so that I have something to show you on Thursday. But I do have a little stockpile of stuff that I picked up the other day. So regardless, if I have a bad day of thrifting on Tuesday, it doesn't matter. I still have lots to show you on Thursday. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you are a first-time person visiting my channel, I do have lots of other tutorials, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and like the video, comment. And if you are already a subscriber, I thank you so much for your coming and your comments and your words of inspiration for me doing this. It's been amazing. We are almost at 900, and when we get to 1,000 subscribers, you know I'm going to have another big giveaway. So we're getting closer and closer every day, so I'm getting excited about that and already starting to put things away for my 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So have yourself a very creative day and a creative week, and maybe we'll see you sometime this week with some of the things that I'm doing, and if not, we'll see you next Sunday. Bye for now. Have a great day.